All right. Welcome, everybody. We are live. I hope you're all doing amazing today. We have our first ILC Summit. We are making history today. So thank you for being here. And let's just get started. I'm your host, Jacob Craig. If you don't know me, I'm a researcher and writer, mainly in the personal development space. So I research experts in health, fitness, motivation, and success, and write about them and share that knowledge with people in hopes that they get the same value that I do from it. So that's a little bit about me. And today we have a great panel of speakers for you. So let's just talk about who we have today and what they will be talking about. So my speech today is going to be the power of focus and reflection. Terry McDougall. So also some insight. So as I was doing podcast interviews for my first book, I had the pleasure of meeting a lot of executive coaches and motivational speakers and just a lot of amazing people, and allowed me to really connect with the people that I brought here for you today. Just an incredible team that I have here. So Terry McDougall is actually the inspiration for today's theme. She really brought the idea of professional success and personal happiness to me that really started this off. So and that's something you'll notice about all four of us, is that we really tie together professional success and personal happiness. When we're coaching people, talking to people, we're really working to help them through all of that. So her presentation, she's a best-selling author with Winning the Game of Work, which you can find on Amazon. I also, in the descriptions, I have links to all of our speakers today. And so if you ever want to, or if you enjoy the presentation, you like hearing what they have to say, and you want to check out their books, their podcasts, things like that. For instance, Terry has her wonderful podcast, Market Mambo, and just an amazing keynote speaker and executive coach. And so her speech today is the 5 big lies that hold you back and how to overcome them. And then third, we'll have Brandon Eastman, who is the writer of Be Extraordinary, which if you go to his link, it's a free ebook that you can get. An amazing motivational speaker. And today he's talking how to 10x your performance in both work and life. And then last but not least, I want to give a little bit of background about Brandon too. I met him through his podcast, the Be Better broadcast. He was nice enough to have me on. We had a great discussion, and I really connected with him. So if you want to check him out, like I said, go to his website. He has some great material you can go check out. And then there's Kevin McShann, same thing. He had me on his podcast, Let's Have This Conversation. And Kevin is just an amazing hard worker. And for those of you who don't know him, he's had his podcast for just over a year, and he's reached 300 interviews. He's living with cerebral palsy, but as you can see, that does not stop him. He's just an amazing individual, and you'll love hearing what he has to say on inclusion. His speech today is creating an environment of inclusion and acceptance for all. So just so you guys know, so that's our panel today. Just so you guys know, if you comment, say anything, I will be able to see your comments. I can't see who likes the stream, but really any likes, any shares, any comments are much appreciated. And just know, if you highlight something that somebody said, or you're hyped up about something really strikes you that you want to say, if you have questions, I'll bring those up in the chat. I will see them after we all give a speech. We're doing a 10 to 15 minute talk, all four of us, and then it'll be followed by a roundtable discussion. So in that roundtable discussion, if you guys have questions, then I will ask them as well. So we'll just be going around asking each other questions and having a great conversation there. So like I said, let's hype it up. I'm ready to begin my speech, and just give me 1 minute. I'll come back in 2 minutes, and we'll start with my speech right off the bat. So it's amazing to have you here. Thank you all for being here today, and just give me 2 minutes. So grab pen and paper and start getting to know each other in the chat. One question I would have for you is, where are you guys all watching from? It's always interesting to see how we have people from all over. So I'd love any interaction, any likes, shares, comments. Really appreciate it. It's amazing I can't say it enough. It's awesome to have you all here. So thank you for being here tonight, and I will be right back. All right, welcome back. And the power of focus and reflection. So, as an author, I really think all authors are also avid readers. So, I'm going to be mentioning a few books. I hope you guys don't mind. I'm going to be talking about 3 books today. The first 2 I'm doing right off the bat. So, I'm talking about Stephen Johnson and his book, Where Good Ideas Come From, and Susan Cain's Quiet. These 2 books have a very interesting correlation. I am not necessarily a history buff, but they talk about history in such an interesting lens that I feel the need to talk about it. You guys, this is super interesting. So, Where Good Ideas Come From, it is a book on innovation and the history of innovation and where it's gone to today. So, not too long ago, he talks about how we had leaders like Charles Darwin and Thomas Edison and people like that. They would explore and experiment for years and years and years until they had that breakthrough moment. And so not too long ago, that has changed to where he says nowadays the key to innovation is collaboration and the conference room table. And it's very interesting how we went from deep thinking innovators to all of a sudden to companies like Google and Apple and Facebook. And it's really just brands and collaboration and things like that. It's very interesting to think about, and it's an awesome book. And also talking about quiet. Quiet is very different. It's actually about introverts. So how introverts have been suppressed lately and how extroverts really stand out. And where these 2 correlate is the same time where Stephen Johnson is saying we went from deep thinkers to the conference room table. Susan Cain is saying we went from caring about character of people to then caring about the personalities of people. And so caring more about introverts to caring more about extroverts. And so thinking about it, we used to think of people like Abraham Lincoln, those deep thinkers, whereas nowadays we look at leaders like Tony Robbins. That's nothing bad about Tony Robbins, but it's 2 extremes. You go from an extreme introvert to an extreme extrovert. And if you look at all leaders today, most of them are in that extrovert realm. When we think of the civil rights movement, we don't think about the movement that Rosa Parks made. We think about MLK and his power and his personality. And then if we think about Apple, no one really thinks as much about Steve Wozniak, the brilliant inventor. We think about the personality and the brand behind Steve Jobs, which, again, maybe that's what makes these people such a powerful team, such a powerful duo that allows for that such innovation and such an amazing, companies that we have today. But are we suppressing people? Is there introverts that are feeling suppressed? And I really think, this book made me realize how much of an introvert that I am myself. And even as a kid, I remember being in the car with my brother and my dad. And this is not a shot at my dad. I love my dad. He's, I couldn't ask for a better father. But so I'm in the car with my brother and my dad, and he turns and he says to me, why are you so quiet? Why don't you speak up more? When are you going to grow out of that? And it's kind of, it makes me feel awkward at the time when it's just me, it's me being an introvert. I just don't talk as much unless I have something of value to say. So it's interesting to see this and how society, I feel, really does suppress this. But there are good qualities of an introvert being pushed towards being an extrovert, and an extrovert towards being pushed to being an introvert. It's, for instance, it's always good to be a better speaker and work towards, and that's definitely a extrovert quality. And some people can't really break that barrier and get comfortable to speak in groups. And for extroverts, I would say the most important thing for them would be to deep think and to reflect. So taking that time to reflect is super important. So we all need to do that, whether we're introverts or extroverts. Now, when I was young, I would read a lot. I would write in my journal, and then I lost it at some point. I was more focused on my relationships, I feel, than spending that time to myself. But about 4 years ago, I picked up those old habits. I picked up that journaling, and I picked up writing again, and and reading. And what that really made me realize is this is where I thrive. That's really what I enjoy doing. So that's why you see me as an author now of a best-selling book. It's very important to take this time to really reflect with yourself. And I really think of the development process, like personal development, professional development. It's similar to, in my mind, as the creative process. The creative process for an artist is when they take an idea and they develop it into something real. And for yourself, when you're developing yourself, you reflect, you hold yourself accountable. And then if you think enough, if you do enough deep thinking and reflecting, then you come up with ideas. If you have enough passion and purpose behind those ideas, you can turn them into something that you're really proud of. And so reflection is such an important key thing to start out with. So what I'm saying here is reflection, accountability, hard work. It takes all three if you really want professional success and personal happiness. And I think we all deserve that. We all deserve that professional success and that personal happiness that we want. But we have to be willing to hold ourselves accountable, to reflect, and to put in that hard work. One thing I want to mention here, another thing, an amazing thing I learned from my dad was that you have, if you're going to spend money on a new experience, it's not wasted money. That's a new experience that's valuable. And what I want to say is if there's any money or time spent on reaching your goals, that's not a waste of any time or money. That's well-used time, well-used money. That's never wasted when it's used on professional or personal development. So I just want to show you just how easy this is to start reflecting. So if you guys have pen and paper, I do suggest you write some of this down. Write down, what does success mean to me? Think about that. This is one of the most, if not the number one most popular question that gets asked to motivational leaders and success coaches and things like that. What is success? Define success. And after hearing a number of different answers, I would say I think the best answer is the feeling of fulfillment in any or all areas of your life. So these 5 areas that I have up right here: health and fitness, education, relationships, lifestyle, and career. These are the 5 areas of life taken from Warren Buffett's goal setting strategy, actually, which I originally got from the 3rd book I'll bring up today, The Little Black Book of Workout Motivation, which isn't just for workout motivation. It's an amazing, amazing book and gives you challenges to do in each chapter. And so when you think of what success means to you and reflect on where you're at, think about it. Do you feel fulfilled in these areas? You can be successful in one of them, but overall, are you successful? Are you happy? Do you feel fulfilled in your health and fitness, your education, your relationships? And then from there, decide where you want to move to, what goals you have, so that you can move towards that and you can improve your life. And so that developmental process I was talking about, you reach higher and higher goals and you're reaching that better success and that better happiness because of it. It's really an amazing, amazing cycle. And if you guys follow anything from Brandon, Terry, Kevin, this is what we're all about, is that positivity, helping you reach those next goals. So to really think about what success means to you, boil it down, and the great thing about it is that, the beautiful thing of us as humans, we're all a little bit different. We all value different things. Some of us value our relationships over our careers. Some of us value our education over our health and fitness, and vice versa, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really finding that balance for you. So one of my favorite quotes comes from Bruce Lee. He says, "I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations, and you're not in this world to live up to mine." So start reflecting, start writing down those goals for yourself, start focusing, and just go crush it. So thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed that presentation. If you ever want to reach out to me, there's my email, there's my website. And again, in the descriptions, you can find my links. I'm all over the place on social media. I'm not going to jabber on where I'm at on social media, but I'm Jacob Craig. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you ever want to reach out to me, please do, and I will help you along that development process. So, all right, I will be right back. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that presentation. I see Christine. It's actually my mom, North Adams. Hello, hello, hello. So yeah, again, I will show you guys comments. If you have hype, if you have anything that you want to say in the chat, I will highlight your comments, acknowledge you. I really love having all you guys here, and I hope you're enjoyed my presentation and are getting ready for Terry McDougall. Terry McDougall has talked to Fortune 500 companies. She's not only an executive coach, but a keynote speaker and a best-selling author. There's so much to look into her if you go check out her website. I'm really excited for her presentation. I hope you are too. So let's just get ready. I'm going to do a couple minutes to let her get time to get ready, and then we will be right back, and she will start her presentation right off the bat. So let's buckle in and get ready.
everybody. It's Terry McDougall, and I'm really excited to be here with you today. First of all, I want to thank Jake for putting this all together, and I I agree with him that the four of us have a lot of overlap and connection. So I hope that you find that my topic here is a logical next step from what Jake presented. So I'm here to talk about the five big lies that hold you back and how to overcome them. As an executive coach, I often speak to people that have big dreams and they want to pursue them, but they really haven't started yet. And a lot of times it's because they're maybe are telling themselves things that just aren't true. So they'll come to me in hopes of finding support because they find it hard to get started on their own. They may feel frustrated and stuck and they may not be sure what to do about it. But what I found is that deep down inside, we know exactly who we are, and we also know what will make us happy. Actually, kind of what Jake was talking about with like, what does success mean to you? When we really stop and take that time, that can rise up and we can get clear on what our goals are. But sometimes, for whatever reason, we can be afraid to give into our desires. We may be afraid of disappointment. And what I try to do is help people to peel back the layers and uncover and reframe their fears so they don't seem so insurmountable. So, what I'm here to talk about is five common excuses that can prevent people from pursuing paths that will make them happier. And maybe you've encountered one or more of what I call the five big lies. So, if you're tired of being held back from what you'd like to experience in your life and your career, let's break these lies down so that you can more easily conquer them and start moving towards those things that are going to help you be happier and more successful. So, Jake, if you can advance to the next slide, that would be great. I think we have a little bit of a lag here, so let me see. Oh, there we go. Okay. Thanks, Jake. So, big lie number one is I have to take a big leap. And it's really natural to feel like making change in your life. It can feel like a big, scary leap. But if you're the one that decides how big the leap is, or if it's a leap at all, it's really up to you. When I first started my business, I was frozen at times because I told myself that I'd have to take the big plunge like an Acapulco cliff diver. But a wise friend pointed out that I could start in the baby end of the pool if I wanted to, and that mental reframing made all the difference for me. It really helped me to progress at a pace that I was comfortable with, and it allowed me to gain confidence without feeling panicky. Before I knew it, like a kid learning to swim, I was jumping into the deep end and really had a lot of energy and joy in my business. Now, had I held on to that original big lie that a swan dive off a craggy cliff was the only way for me to get started in my business, I'd probably still be huddled under the covers, biting my fingernails down to the quick. But Jake has advanced the slide here to the real deal. No, no, Jake, go back one. Thanks. The straight dope is just take a small action in the direction of your goal. As the old adage goes, a trip of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So, what's one little baby step that you can take today? Okay, you can advance it now, Jake. So, big lie number two, I'm not ready. Now, the interesting thing about this statement is that no one actually ever says it unless there's at least some expectation of action. And if you expect something, part of you wants it. So when you say you're not ready, that's actually your fear talking. To address this in a positive way, ask yourself, what's the smallest action that I can take that's impossible to fail at? Much like big lie number one, you're 100% in control of the action you decide to take and when you decide to take it. It can be as small as deciding that, yes, I'm ready to take one small action. Once you have even a little bit of momentum, the next step becomes that much easier. So the straight dope on line number 2 is that the first step could be as simple as doing a Google search, making a phone call, or having a conversation with someone who can provide you some insights. These are all legitimate first steps towards your goal. And if you find yourself hesitating, use the Mel Robbins 5-second rule. So count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and then act. This technique helps you get started before your consciousness can resist. She actually has a great TED talk on this technique, so it might be worth looking it up. So, big lie number 3, Jake, if you can advance the slide. The big lie number 3 is that this decision is do or die. This can be a showstopper. Perhaps you don't act because you think the result must be perfect or the impact must be huge. This is like a baseball player that steps to the plate and expects to hit a home run every time. An expectation like that leads to performance anxiety and can decrease the likelihood of anything productive happening. Now, if you detach yourself from the outcome and focus instead on taking action, you can try something different each time, and then you can figure out what works. This approach can even be fun. You may find yourself approaching your tasks with curiosity and wondering, I wonder what's going to happen next. So, the straight dope on line number 3 is just try stuff and be kind to yourself. Give yourself credit for being brave and notice what parts work and what you want to change next time. Keep up your activity, and before you know it, you'll be getting on base and maybe even hitting an occasional home run. Consistent small steps will get you closer to your goal than expecting dramatic surges forward and putting that pressure on yourself to expect that you're going to make that happen every time. Okay, so big lie number 5. Nobody will take me seriously. Often, when you decide to do something different, you may worry that others won't take you seriously. I mean, this is kind of what a lot of people refer to as the imposter syndrome. And when we have these thoughts, remember that confidence is contagious. When you have confidence in yourself, others tend to have confidence in you as well. If you doubt yourself, others can pick up on that and they may doubt you as well. Occasionally, you may encounter somebody who rains on your parade, but that's all about them. Your boldness may actually trigger envy or fear in them, and then they project that onto you so they don't have to deal with their own emotions. When you decide to make a change, do your best to be around supportive, like minded people who bolster you rather than undermine you. So, the real deal or the straight dope on this is that, as I was saying, I know, sorry, a saying that I know is very relevant to the situation, and it is what other people think of you is none of your business. Because the reality is, we never really know what other people think. And if we can focus on what we want and what we need to do to make it happen, our energy goes in a positive direction and it's not siphoned off by worry and fear. So support yourself in the same way that you'd support a friend or loved one who's trying something new and scary. And if things don't go according to plan, recognize it's just all part of your journey. You're going to learn. Um, you'll learn a lesson and it's going to make you more effective in the future. So give yourself some grace and just keep moving forward. And now, big lie number 5. Jake, can you advance the slide? So lie number 5 is that people who are successful are different than me. Now, pardon my bluntness on this one, but I'm just going to call it the way I see it. And this is actually a self-serving excuse. The only difference between you and someone who is successfully doing what they like to do is that they took a chance and did it. It's easy to sit back and dream and never take action. We all have many reasons we tell ourselves not to follow our dreams, but imagining that someone else was successful because they had it easier or had some other advantage, it's not valid and it's not relevant. The straight dope on this is that someone else's success has nothing to do with you. Jake, you can advance the slide. It has nothing to do with you and vice versa. People who are successful put their foot on the path and they started walking in the direction of their goal. They figured it out step by step, and you can too. Don't compare yourself to others. There's another saying, which is comparison is the thief of joy. Your journey is your journey and no one else's. Whatever it is that you want to do, just get started. Jake, you can actually advance it 2 slides if you don't mind. Okay, I think we've got a little bit of a lag. I'll just keep going. You'll be able to see the slides. Okay, so the truth about these 5 big lies. These lies can seem like ferocious tigers standing between you and your dreams. Maybe you're not pursuing your goals because they seem threatening, but when you have the courage to look more closely, you'll see that those paper tigers can be conquered by a breath or a flick of the finger. Remember, you're in control of how big of a risk that you take. Lots of small steps can often get you to your destination faster than a single giant leap. Explore the block that keeps you from even taking the smallest step. If you want to do something but feel you're not ready, you may need to start walking on the path towards your goal to start to see your options. Very few decisions are do or die. Through mistakes, we learn the most and we gain the most valuable insights about what our true path is. Try to reframe mistakes as learning opportunities. Other people's judgment is more about them than it is about you. So don't let it hold you back. Judgment by others never feels good, but the more you recognize the truth, the less it will matter to you. You're responsible for yourself, not for other people's reactions to you and what you decide to do about your life. That's really up to you. So be free and start taking some action towards success and happiness. And then people who are successful aren't magical or preordained. They had an idea of what they wanted and they took action to bring that idea to life. You have the same power. Be brave and start believing in yourself. The more you use your power, the stronger it gets, and the more you'll believe in yourself and reach the goals that you set for yourself. So, next time you see something that you really want to do and you're second guessing yourself, stop to see if one of these 5 big lies is the culprit. Use the tricks that I shared with you today to shine the light of truth on what's really going on and move bravely to seize what you really want to do with your life. So, thanks for listening. And if you like the tips that I shared here today, they came from my book, Winning the Game of Work. And I have lots more tips and tricks for being successful at work and in the rest of your life in Winning the Game of Work. It's available on Amazon and at barnesandnoble.com. And then if you want to reach me, you can go to my website at terrybmcdougall.com. I've got a blog, I've got excerpts from my book, lots of information about my coaching practice. I also have a podcast, which is called Marketing Mambo, and you can find that on any of the podcast platforms or at its website, marketingmambo.net. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn, so if you'd like to get LinkedIn with me, please reach out. My handle is Terry B. McDougall. So thanks for listening, and I hope you get some value out of the how to overcome the 5 big lies. Thanks, Jake.
Awesome job, Terry. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What an amazing presentation. I love what you said about supporting yourself and making sure you're thinking about yourself. And just like you would talk to your friends, support yourself. You had so many great tips within those 5 excuses that we give ourselves. And so I hope you guys were taking notes during that. And, I hope you enjoyed her presentation and check out her book. And Terry is just an amazing, amazing resource. If you want her executive coaching as well, like she said, you can find her on LinkedIn. You can go to her website. Just awesome, awesome presentation. So thank you, Terry. And next up, we have Brandon Eastman, and he's a motivational speaker. If a lot of you probably know him that are in the chat right now, and I hope you guys are excited as I am for him. If you don't know him, he is also a keynote speaker for Fortune 500 companies, and he has coached over 1,000 salesmen personally. Very, very, very incredible achiever and just awesome human being, just helping you to achieve your goals. So I'm excited for his presentation. Like I said, if you guys get hyped and have comments during his presentation, I'll share those comments live, and let's just get ready. All right, Brandon, like I said, give it 2 minutes during his intro, and he will be right here starting his presentation. All right, sit back. You'll be right here.
All right, we are live. We are in action. First thing that I have to do, first of all, I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to be here because this is one of the first success summits that Jake Craig has created. And let me just say, I got to give you some respect, Jake, because all of you here, I'm sure you know Jake, right? If you don't, you got to go check him out, because I want you to remember this day. I want you to remember this success summit with everyone who's here right now, right? However many people are registered. I think we had over 200 people registered for this event, which is absolutely incredible. I want you to remember this day because 10 years from now, maybe even sooner, right? Jake is going to be hosting this in a giant football stadium with like 50,000 people. All right, I'm saying it here first because I know what's going to happen with how organized this guy is and the incredible team that he gets set up with people like Terry McDougall, who are here, and Kevin McShann. So I'm super happy to be here, and I'm really excited to see you here. And I'm excited that you're here because you wouldn't be here watching this right now at 7 p.m. Eastern time at least, unless you were dedicated to your personal and professional growth. If you weren't dedicated to improve, there's no way in hell you'd be here right now. You'd be watching Netflix, you'd be on Facebook scrolling through, you'd be doing something to decompress from the hard day that you've had. And today, I want you to leave this next 10 to 15 minute segment with a plan. I want you to have the outcome of when you walk away from this presentation here with everything that we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about how to 10x your performance and work and life. And I want you to have a step-by-step plan by the time you walk away. And because I've only got 15 minutes, I'm going to talk fast because I don't have a lot of time, right? So the first question I want to ask you is, what does success even mean to you? And I know Jake asked you this earlier in a very beautiful, eloquent way, but did you write it down? Did you write down whatever that definition of success is for you, or is it still up here, right? Because Jake, he wrote the instructions. It says, grab your pen and grab your paper. The thing is, a lot of people take for granted the power of putting a pen to a piece of paper. We don't understand what happens when you put a pen to paper. When you put your pen to paper and you write something down, your comprehension of the subject goes from 20 to 30% to over 90% absorption of whatever it is you're writing down. The thing is, your brain doesn't know the difference between something you're reading and something you wrote. So why not write something that you want your brain to absorb and keep and think about? So I'm going to ask you one more time, and I want you to write this down. What does success mean to you? Is success earning more money? Is it having a certain car in the driveway? Is it experiencing specific emotions throughout your day more than other emotions? Is it being in the relationship of your dreams, right? What does success mean to you? The problem is, most people have no idea, right? And they wonder why they're not happy in their life. But when you ask them the question, what is it that you want? They look at you and they say, I've never really thought about that. And that's not your fault. Right? School never taught us what success was. School never taught us the value of writing things down and reading and earning income and advancing in our career. School simply taught you, hey, come here to learn English, learn history, which you're going to forget by next period, and go to college, graduate, get a job, retire, and then you know what comes after retire. Right? So what does success mean? How do you know when you're successful? Are there certain activities that you partake in that when you're partaking in them, you say to yourself, wow, this makes me feel really good. I want to be doing more of this. What does success mean? Write it down. To me, very similar to what Jake said and what Kevin said too in a recent video he posted, is success is making progress towards a worthy goal. Success is when you're at the end of your day and you're able to say to yourself, I've made a lot of progress towards what it is I want to accomplish today. It's when you're going to sleep that night and you're thinking in your mind of the wins that you've had from that day, and all of the wins that you had are pushing you in the direction of your dreams. It's pushing you in the direction of your outcome, which we're going to talk about. Don't worry, I'm going to guide you through this. I'm going to guide you through a system that I created, not just from, it came to my mind, but because I had to live it myself. Because while I might coach many people now, while I might work with different sales teams from nationwide at this point, I went from being a training director to opening my own business, right? But it didn't start there. I didn't start by making YouTube videos and knowing how to talk to a camera. None of that just happened. When I was 21, I'm 27 now, so within 6 years, I was 260 pounds. I was massively obese. Like, I was a big guy, right? Wearing all the baggy clothes because I didn't want people to see what my body looked like. Feeling bad about myself whenever I looked into the mirror. I was over $20,000 in credit card debt. And for those who know about credit cards, that's like 18 to 20% interest or more. So I was swimming in debt. I was very overweight. I had no strong or healthy relationships in my life, and I had absolutely no purpose. I had absolutely no idea what direction I wanted my life to look like. And I didn't know what to do, right? Until I had a mentor come into my life. and a mentor who helped me to rise up in the company that I worked with. And he looked at me point blank and he's like, Brandon, there's no way you're going to get promoted. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm not going to get promoted? And he's like, well, how do you expect to lead other people if you can't even properly lead yourself? How are other people going to respect you if you don't even have that kind of self-respect for yourself? Right? And I was like, well, that's a great question. I guess I don't. And I said, what do I need to do? And he's like, you're going to follow me. He's like, come to the gym with me and we'll start there. And through that process, within 6 to 8 months, I lost over 60 pounds. I eliminated over $20,000 of debt. I found myself around new, empowering people, people who brought me up, people who charged my battery versus people who drained it. My entire life changed in 6 months. And you can do the same thing. And you might even be able to do it faster, but it's not about how fast you do it. It's about enjoying the journey and the process of doing it. So let me show you this system that I learned through my own experience and through necessity. This system is what I call the 5 Ps, okay? And it's just called that because it sounds better than if there was like 3 Ps and 2 Fs, right? It just sounds better than that. So the first step, the first thing that I had to wrap my mind around was I had absolutely no idea what I wanted my life to look like. My mentor helped me to create a plan for my life. I said to him, well, I don't really know what it is that I want. And he's like, well, just make it up. I said, make it up. And he's like, yeah, the beautiful thing about living in a free country is you get to choose what it is you do. You get to choose what it is you spend your time on. And I was like, oh, I never really thought of it that way. And he's like, so what do you want? I said, well, I want to become a leader in the company. I want to feel better about myself and about my life. So I started to write down my plan onto paper, which led me to the second P. At the time, like I mentioned, I was heavily overweight, right? So I would wake up in the morning and I had probably like 10% of the energy that I have now when I wake up. And that's because I didn't take care of my body. I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't being conscious of the food that I put into my body. I had absolutely no or very low energy. My power source was non-existent, right? Because your energy and your power comes from 2 places. It comes from how you use your body, how you move your body, the expressiveness of your body. And it also comes from what you're thinking in your mind. It's your internal representation of events. It's your, what most people call, your mindset. What are the different thoughts that are going through your mind on a daily basis? Do you entertain those thoughts? Do you accept those thoughts? Do you accept the thoughts that are serving you, or do you accept the thoughts that aren't serving you? The trick is when you realize you get to decide which thoughts you want to accept into your life. And your power comes down to your body, how you use it, and your thoughts, which led me then to the third P in this process. And the third P is that very ethereal word that gets thrown around by a lot of people, right? Live your purpose. Find what you're passionate about and go after that and do it. Well, there's only one problem there. What if you love singing? You want to be the next Mariah Carey, right? Or maybe the next Cardi B, right? Who knows? It's your life, right? What if you're not a great singer? What if you practice for years and you're still not a great singer, right? There's a part about natural ability that does come into the mix. And if you're truly passionate about singing, but you're not great and you're not getting any better and you're not dedicated to the craft, then how is it going to be your purpose? How are you going to survive? Survival does play its part. You have to be able to survive while living your purpose. I had no idea what my purpose was. Even after I lost the weight, I still didn't know what my purpose was. I only discovered my purpose, which was sharing my message, helping other people to make positive improvements in their own life. I only discovered my purpose once it discovered me. And the only reason my purpose discovered me is because I was trying a lot of different things. I finally discovered it when I gave a team training and when I spoke to a group of salespeople. And I didn't think they wanted to hear what I had to say, right? But at the end of the presentation to about 50 people, a couple people walked up to me And they said, Brandon, that was really good. I said, really? What did you like? And they said, well, no one's ever really talked about goals with us before. No one's ever really talked about time management with us. This is really going to help me. And they went, and it actually helped them to earn thousands of more dollars every single month. And I was like, I enjoyed the process of training people, and I enjoyed watching their results. So I said to myself, that made me feel really good. I want to do more of that. And the beautiful thing about purpose is you can find and discover and live your purpose, whether you're working inside of a company or an organization. You can live your purpose if you're in your own business. You can live your purpose in the clubs that you're in the community that you serve in. You can live and use your purpose in many different ways. I'm living my purpose now by talking to you because Jacob was kind enough to give me this platform to talk to you tonight. I spread my purpose through YouTube. I share my purpose through training sales teams, all these different avenues. So how can you take what you enjoy doing, what you're naturally good at, and what you're passionate about, and combine them into one to live your own purpose? Because once you do, once you have these three things, you've probably already started or have accomplished the fourth one, which is surrounding yourself with the right people. This we could talk for hours about, because you are the average of the 3 to 5 people that you spend the most time around. You're the average of their income. You're the average of their mindset. You're the average of their relationships. If you hang around 9 out of 10 people who are broke, then you're probably the 10th person, right? So who are the people that you're spending time around right now, which then leads us to the final and the 5th P, which keeps this entire system moving. Which is making progress. One thing each day that you can do that will move you closer to the end result. Just one thing a day that moves you in the direction of your dreams, of your goal, the end destination of your plan. One thing each day will compound into a giant, massive result. And it's practically impossible that you won't get to where you want to go when you follow this process. So start with a plan. Fuel it with the power to see the plan through with your body and your mindset and your thoughts. Live your purpose and really ask yourself, what is it that I enjoy doing? What am I naturally good at? And what am I passionate about? For me, I was passionate about educating people to help them improve their life. And then use that to help as many people as possible. Generally, purpose comes down to service and doing for other people. Then surround yourself with those people. Find the people who are aligned with your vision. Find the people where when you leave their company, you feel elevated. You feel energetic. You feel great about life. Those are the people that you want to spend time around, right? Kevin, Terry, Jake, those are people who charge my battery just by being in their presence, feeling their vibration. Find people like that. And if you say to yourself, well, Brandon, I don't know where to find those people, go to a club that specializes in what it is you want to improve in. And I guarantee you'd have to try really hard not to find other people who are aligned with your vision. And then remember, one thing each day that will bring you closer to your destination, and just watch the momentum that you begin to build for yourself. It will be absolutely enormous. But remember, things don't change overnight. You have to start this. You have to trust in the process and keep moving forward. Now, I've created a lot of different resources that can help you to implement all of these 5 Ps, whether it's through group programs with the Be Better Bootcamp or my YouTube channel, where I have over several hundred trainings that you can watch on goal setting and achievement and fitness and earning money. And I speak with tons of experts on my Be Better broadcast, which Kevin and Terry have both been guests on, and Jake, they were on the podcast too. So there's so many free ways out there for you to improve. And I also want to give you a free digital copy of my book, which is called Be Extraordinary, Your Guide to Self-Mastery, which will help you to implement this system in whatever area of life is most important for you to focus on right now. For me, it was my emotions and it was my physical body, which is chapters 1 and 2. I labeled the book in the same order that I went through these changes myself. Go download the digital copy. Jake's going to give you a link to it. Flip to the chapter that makes the most sense for you. Go to the challenge at the end of the chapter and follow that challenge for the next 7 days and just begin to watch your life change. If you want to have a one-on-one conversation with me, find me on LinkedIn. Shoot me a message. I'd love to connect with you, even just to have a conversation about what you're all about, what you want to accomplish. I love meeting new people, so reach out to me, and I'd love the opportunity to chat with you. But remember, keep moving forward and continue to be better every single day. Thank you guys so much.
Brandon, wow. Amazing presentation. I'm sorry to cut you off there. I feel so bad about that. You had such an awesome presentation. So thank you so much for that. So many great tips. Some things that really connect with me are talking about purpose and talking about people, talking about mentors in my life, and talking about how I'm not really going to achieve where or get to where I want to be, whether it be in my personal life or professional life, if I'm not living with purpose, if I don't really want it, if I'm not passionate about it, I'm not going to reach that goal that I want to reach. You really need that passion and that purpose to have that drive. So thank you, Brandon. Just awesome presentation. So let's give it up for him. Thank you, Brandon. And let's move on to Kevin McShann. It's worth repeating that he has had his podcast, Let's Have This Conversation, for just over a year, and he's already had 300 interviews. Over 300 interviews in just over a year. He doesn't just go live with these people and post them. No, he takes his background and brings up statistics and other journalism aspects and really develops it before he posts it, and just amazing conversations that he had. I love being a guest on his podcast, and his whole thing is if you want to make change, you need to start creating deep conversations with people and be willing to have those conversations. So that's why his podcast is Let's Have This Conversation. So let's give it up for him. Let's get ready, get hyped. Again, thank you, Brandon. Let's move on to Kevin. Just give him 2 minutes and he will be up and ready presenting. All right, we will be right back.
There we go.
go. Kevin, I think we can hear you now. We're just having a little technical.
Good man. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you are good. I may stay in here just in case we have other technical difficulties, so I can let people know about that.
No problem.
And yeah, but whenever you're ready, Kevin, I'm gonna switch this to your name. And just so you know, I think the way that the people watching the stream will see it differently than you see it. So I'll let you know when a video starts and a video ends. Like with Terry's, I think slides were there before for the viewers than it were for her. So I'll let you know when those videos begin and end. You can start whenever you're ready, Kevin.
Fantastic. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for being here, and I want to thank Jake for having me as a panelist for this incredible discussion about inclusion and finding your purpose. As Jake told you, my name is Kevin McShann, and it's a real honor to be with all of you today. As Jake told you, I was born with what's called a spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy. It simply means that I don't have enough oxygen in my legs to walk normally. But one thing you'll learn about me is I live my life through two principles. You know, I always say that inclusion is the gateway to independence, and that I hate excuses, because excuses are an artificial way to give yourself an excuse not to accomplish your goals. So today I'm going to talk to you about inclusive employment for folks with disabilities. As you know, my background, if you've read anything about me, is about inclusive employment for folks with disabilities. But before we dive into that discussion, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. You know, I graduated college in 2010, and it took me 6 years to get my first paying job. And through that process, I learned about myself, the value of perseverance and the value of looking forward to accomplishing the goals and that you set out for yourself, and also putting a plan of action in place. And tonight I'm going to talk to you about tangible action steps you can take if you're an employer or someone with a disability looking for employment, and also finding a way to persevere to make sure that you have a full and fulfilling life, whether you're an employer or an individual with disabilities. So with that, I'll ask Jake to move to the next slide. And as I said, we're going to talk about diversifying your workforce. And once you do that, you'll get a instant accelerant for your workforce and making sure that everyone is included at work. So Jake, you can move on. So when we talk about increasing diversity at work, you get a couple of things that'll happen for you. You'll get an instant win or competitive edge over your competition. You'll also get reduced training costs, because people with disabilities want to prove they can do the work, right? So you don't have to keep training people to do the same work over and over again. So by hiring someone with a disability, you actually save money. Imagine that. Of course, as I mentioned, for your training costs are reduced, and also your turnover when you train staff is less, because people with disabilities want to stay and prove that they can do the work. So you also get increased morale and better productivity as well. And you, as a leader or an executive in an organization, your morale will also skyrocket. So those are those action steps that you can take. But it first starts with creating a culture of acceptance and cohesion. And what I mean by that, it goes back to inclusion is the gateway to independence. You've got to include people in the conversation in order to see the impactful difference. So you can go to the next slide, Jake. So you want some proof on how this works, right? So the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, and one thing I forgot to mention to you is that I'm coming to you today from Canada, which is pretty cool. But the Ontario Chamber of Commerce put together some statistics for us to look at. 72% of people with disabilities stay longer in jobs if you give them a chance to be employed. So there's tangible evidence right there. 92% of the people that you do business with want to support businesses who hire people with disabilities. So again, another tangible action piece you can take to the bank as an employer or entrepreneur who's looking to grow and expand their business. And the last piece here is very, very important because, you know, one of my former jobs was being the ambassador for something called the Discoverability Network, which was the online job matching portal for the province of Ontario to match employers and individuals with disabilities to get connected. And, you know, when I talk to employers, one question that constantly comes up is how much money is this going to cost me? And how much time do I have to invest in this process? And the Ontario Chamber of Commerce tells us that 80% of people with disabilities don't require any accommodations at all when it comes to retrofitting or accommodating a workforce to better suit people with disabilities. And here's the important part. When you have to dole out money, the same study tells us that 80% of people with disabilities, the accommodations for those people are less than $500. It could be as simple as the raised height of a desk, the use of assisted software, or a headset. So it's very easy to make very simple accommodations to create an environment of success and increase morale in the workforce. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is the 3 C's as an employer, right? Are you committed to creating a culture of success? Are you committed to the process, right? The first thing you have to do is make the commitment. The second thing you have to do is find out what are the conditions that I have to create in the workforce to make sure that my workplace is inclusive and accessible. And the last piece, of course, is embracing creativity. You have to be creative. One thing about hiring someone with a disability, they can help you solve problems and look at things from a different perspective. So when we look at the 3 C's, rather, it's about creating conditions, embracing creativity, and also creating a culture of inclusion for everyone. So next I want to bring you a series of short videos, starting with my friend Lauren Winnings, who is the CEO and founder of a company called Next Level Benefits. They help people with their HR needs and creating environments of success at work. And Lauren says, again, there are tangible action steps you can take in order to create an inclusive workforce. So with that, I'll let you listen to Lauren at this time.
It's such a great question, and I think that, it goes beyond, just saying it. There's some actionable steps that organizations can take. First actionable step is you want to create, a aspirational narrative around, inclusivity, around diversity, around equity. If the organization, wants to challenge that and take that on as a value within your organization, you got to document it. You got to put it down. You got to make sure that it's available for people to access so that they can see the company is committed to this. So once that commitment is made, then it's all the different steps that come after that. It's, creating a hiring strategy that includes those that, may be disabled, or, may be not necessarily have college educations, but there's opportunities within the organization that they can, take advantage of that don't require a college education. There's so many different, strategies that could be deployed from a hiring perspective that allow employers to get access to candidates that they wouldn't have normally considered, of being a good fit for their organization. That's a few of the things that you can do, but, also making sure that their environment, are set up properly for those who might have, a disability, making sure that your policies speak to everyone, who might fall under a particular policy. So your HR policies also have to be written in a way that shows that you recognize that there are differences within your workforce. And then lastly, I think it's also making sure that when you're communicating with your people, that you're providing, accessibility and accommodations when needed and necessary to make sure that everyone can hear your message and everyone can be a part of the conversation.
So again, that's all about tangible action steps that every employer can take right now that doesn't require a whole lot of resources in order to make the commitment to be successful. So with that, we'll move on to the next slide there, Jake. So now I want to bring in remarks from a friend of mine. Jesse Kaufman is the Senior Vice President and lead consultant for a company called Everyday Business Resiliency Group. And the cool thing about Jesse, before we play the video, is that his father spent 25 years in special education. So Jesse says, when we look at creating an environment of inclusion, it all starts with having a broad range of perspectives.
That's an area that I'm very familiar with. My what we would call growing up a special education teacher in a high school for 25 years. Just the model of education, of tailoring it to everyone's needs to help them be more successful is something we can apply to businesses. And I think the big reason to push for that kind of individualization and focus on everyone's talents and uniqueness is that a business with more diversity, more inclusion, gives you more experiences for people to draw from to make your business better. It eliminates blind spots that a business can have if you have too many people from the same background, from the same life challenges. And so a business can focus on including more people that have been through more. It makes the business stronger because now you've got people that know what it's like to deal with challenges, that know, oh, hey, we're facing this issue as a business. You know what? I've dealt with something similar over here in my life, and what if we apply that scenario to it? You see that the strongest businesses, the strongest organizations are the ones that have people from the most broad spectrum of experience in life, and that's the kind of robustness you want to build into a business from the get-go. So if you can pull as many people like that in, it just makes everybody better.
So again, it all goes back to creating a broader perspective, because then your scope of resources and responsibilities as an employer increases. So you have more in your toolbox in order to be inclusive and accepting of all people of all abilities. And the last video of the trio that I wanted to present to you today comes from my buddy Kyle Porter. And Kyle, Jacob, you would switch to the next slide there, bud. Kyle is the owner and founder of a company called Guidepost Marketing. And Kyle believes that the marketing space for folks with disabilities is ripe with opportunities for them to be successful. So with that, we'll listen to Kyle's remarks, and then I'll have some final thoughts.
The thing about marketing is really that it's about And one of those is the ability to put yourself in someone else's position, understand their unique circumstances, and then to deliver things that that make their life better. And the other thing that that really makes a big difference and makes somebody good at marketing is the ability to adapt. Because we don't see a lot of success the first time out. A lot of marketing is trying something, getting feedback, and then adapting. And for folks with disabilities, there are probably not two skills that people with disabilities are better at than empathy and putting themselves in other people's shoes, because that's something that they hope they will receive. They want folks with disabilities want empathy. They want people to understand their position. And at the same time, the other thing they present, these challenges are presented to them every day, and all they do is adapt. I know that I believe you told me that you have cerebral palsy. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
And so you're faced with these challenges day in and day out, and you've got to figure out ways to navigate a world that in a lot of ways is not built for you. And you've got to figure out how to adapt, how to navigate those situations. And so, if I'm bringing somebody on, in my business to write copy or to run, an ad campaign or to work with clients, I can't think of somebody better than someone who is constantly adapting and who's developed that mindset of, we're going to figure out a way to make this work. So, I think that the marketing space is ripe with opportunity, for folks with disabilities.
So again, it's all about I'm going to go back to it because it's all about creating a culture, embracing the notion of creativity, because creativity, I always told employers that it's important to look at the scope of your work and look for opportunities where you can fit the employer's skill set for the job, rather than trying to retrofit an employee with a disability to retrofit your expectations, and not to be so rigid with the way the execution process is done, right? Embracing technology, looking at different ways or smarter ways we can use technology, or use the art of communication, working from home if that's something that is palatable. But the last thing I want to tell you is that when you give someone with a disability a job, you open up doors of inclusion in both their societal and economic life, but you also give them a sense of empowerment and belonging into something that's more powerful than themselves. You give them a sense of community. I also told employers that people with disabilities have to pay taxes too, right? So you have to give them the opportunity. There's no 50% off policy when it comes to having a disability. So it's all about opening doors of inclusion and acceptance. And the last slide that I want to give some final thoughts to is that when we look at opportunity, when we look at talent, it's an equally distributable commodity. But that can't be said when we look at opportunity for folks with disabilities. And you as employers or leaders of marketing firms or employment agencies or businesses have the power to give them the independence they seek. So with that, I want to thank Jake for having me, and also always remember that inclusion is the gateway to independence. And if you guys want to follow anything that I do, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find the Let's Have This Conversation platform on YouTube. You can also visit the website and visit me on any social media platform. So again, Jake, thanks for having me, and I hope you guys got something on how to make your workplaces more inclusive.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I'm just going to give you your outro right here. You did such an awesome job with your presentation. So thank you for this. There's so many great points to highlight. Something that you said was the 3 C's, committed to creating a culture. That speaks volumes. There's so many ways that we can talk about creating a culture and how you need to be committed to do that. And hopefully this opens people's minds to the power of inclusion, not only for the person that you're including, but for the workplace. And so I just want to thank you, Kevin. You did an awesome job with your presentation.
Thanks for having me, Jake. And thanks everybody for attending tonight's discussion about success and prosperity. It's been great.
Yes, I hope you all that are watching understand and can see that we all live with purpose. We're not just doing this. We're not just here speaking. Terry, Brandon, Kevin, we're all here for a reason, and that's because we have a message for you. So I hope you're enjoying what we have to share, you're taking it in, and you're getting value from it. So I hope you guys stick around. We have our roundtable discussion with all 4 of us coming up. I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break just to give everybody a chance to get ready for that roundtable. I saw a couple of questions come in that we'll address, and just so you guys know the best way that you can help support, because this is a live, free presentation. I didn't tell them and limit them on what they could promote, any of us, but no one noticed that nobody's, putting out their services that are necessarily paid. They're talking about their free ebooks, free offers, and things like that. And this is really all just trying to give value to you. So if you can appreciate it and you enjoy our message, sharing this video wherever you're watching it from is a great free way to support. And it's all we can really ask for is for you to share so we can reach more people and give them that value as well. So thank you all. And like I said, I'll be back in just 2 minutes. So I'm going to do the outro for Kevin, and then we'll play that 2-minute break and roll right into our roundtable discussion with all 4 of us. So I hope you stick around. We'll be right back. All right, look at that. Oh, we got a little switcher up to do. All right, everybody. Everybody's mic is working. Let's see. I got to switch on Terry.
Hello.
Kevin.
Hi, everybody.
All right. All our mics are working. Everything is flowing. Hello. So awesome job, you guys. First thing I want to say, first I want to address Brandon. I apologize so much for cutting you off at the end there. I was waiting for the pause and I was waiting for
Hey man, I was just thanking you. So all you cut out was me thanking you for all your great work, but I appreciate that.
Well, shoot. You guys did an amazing job. And this is so unique from most webinars that you see and summits, because none of us are here to promote, $100, $200, $300 type deal, anything like that. We're simply just sharing information, giving value, and just trying to connect and give that value to as many people as we possibly can. So that's what it's been all about. And you crushed it. Everybody, you did an awesome job. And I think if we had lagging issues, I think if people watch I'll have videos that come up, or if they watch the stream after it goes live, I think the quality will be better when they watch it. So technical issues, all on me. But with that aside, it's amazing to be here. And the other thing that's different from anything else is this roundtable discussion. So, people usually just give the speakers a chance to speak, but I think it's important, and I do this when I'm on podcast interviews too, is try to ask the interviewer questions rather than just asking me as the interviewee. I want to get to pick their brain a little bit with questions. So we've all prepared a couple questions for each other, and we got a couple questions in the chat as well. And if people in the chat have any more questions, bring them up and we will gladly discuss them. So yeah, are you guys ready to get rolling? You got your questions ready?
Let's roll.
All right.
Yep.
All right. We're going to start right off the bat with the people's questions. The people are who are important here. So we got a long one first. I think that was the first one. Let me make sure I don't skip anybody. Okay. So our first one comes from Kenneth Meniato, who's from the Philippines. Awesome guy. And so we'll keep the question up until we have time to read it. Really, the question is, how do we sustain our passion when it has become our job to? If we're so dedicated to something that we're doing it day in, day out, how do we sustain it? How do we make it more, how do we make it more sustainable for ourselves? So I think we all can answer this question. And just so we're clear on how we're going to do this, is we'll go around in a circle. So it'll be myself, and then Terry, Kevin, and then Brandon. And if we're asking each other questions, Terry asks a question. Kevin will go first. Brandon will go second. I'll go third. And then Terry, you'll follow up and do your answer last.
Yep.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. So let me reiterate that in case you got caught up reading. How do we sustain our passion when it has become our jobs too? So I will start this one off. I think that Terry and I were actually just talking about this yesterday. If something becomes your daily thing, how do you make it so it's not draining, that we can keep that passion day in, day out? And I think what we really talked about was keeping that variety, right? If we have a certain task that's really draining, try to sprinkle in something that's exciting for us. Say if I'm writing, I need a little bit of a creative outlet. Maybe it's something that I work on, like this presentation or this conference, that gives me a little bit of a creative outlet away from the monotony of just staring at a screen and typing away. And, it's great. I'm passionate about what I'm writing, but I need a break every now and then. So, Terry, do you have anything to develop on that, or another answer?
Yeah. I was actually thinking about part of your presentation where you were looking at all the different aspects of life. Like, we've got work, we've got family, we've got taking care of ourselves. And I think it's really important to sometimes step back and think about what you want your life to look like. It can be very easy to get sucked into, being really involved in work that you love. And that's actually a blessing in many ways. But it's important for us also to have balance and to sometimes step back and recognize if we're getting tired, or if our energy is being drained, or if we realize we haven't spent time with friends, or haven't gotten to the gym, or aren't eating well, or whatever, and take the time to make sure that you've got balance in your life, because that's going to ensure that you have the energy to invest in the things that you get enjoyment out of. Love
that. So true. Kevin?
Yeah, I've got to look at this from my journalism angle. Once a journalist, always a journalist, right? So I think when you are drained or lacking passion for something you do every day, one of the first things they teach you in journalism school is to have multiple angles to attack a story. And really, it can be the same in life, right? When you are doing something day in and day out, challenge yourself to make mini milestones or change the angle of the way you're looking at something, because it's a way for you to recharge your own emotional and mental batteries if you can find a different way of attacking a problem. So my answer to that question is always be looking for the next angle of production, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, awesome answer. That's quite the developed answer on the spot, Kevin. Awesome. Brandon?
Yeah, I think you guys had incredible answers. And first thing I want to say to Kenneth is, number one, your profile picture is awesome. I love your picture. The second thing that I'll say is, I think the fact that you're asking this question tells me that you're going to come across the answer very soon. The way that I view purpose is different than the way that you view purpose. And let me explain how I know that and what I mean. The way that you wrote purpose in your question shows purpose as a noun. I don't believe purpose is a noun. I believe purpose isn't something you have. I believe purpose is something that you do. And when I say that, I mean, it's not that your purpose becomes your job, because your purpose is something that you do no matter what your job is. So when I look at purpose, I think about it in three different ways, maybe four. And I don't want to throw too much in here because I want to keep moving. But I think of purpose as, ask yourself, what are you naturally good at, right? What is something that you've learned to be good at through your life, a natural or a learned skill that you might have found through the education system or through necessity growing up? What are you passionate about? So this is where passion comes into play. And then what is your own unique story, right? What is your origin story? And how can you take those things, Kenneth, and how can you apply them in whatever job you're currently working? Because you don't work your purpose as a job, you work your purpose inside of your job. And for me, that was training salespeople, but I didn't just use my purpose at work. I used it at Toastmasters. I used it in the National Speaking Organization. Like, I used it everywhere I was. It was simply, my job was the vehicle in which I used it. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I just add one thing to that, Jake? When I talk to people with disabilities, I told Brandon this on his podcast, when you work with people with disabilities and when you work with people in general, it's always important to accentuate the positive. So when I work with people with disabilities, I always tell them, make sure that you make your disability work for you. And what I mean by that is make sure that you make your circumstances work for you. An example for me is that because of my disability, that I'm not able to physically go from point A to point B as quickly as other people. But I've used the power of technology to start a podcast, to start a website, to get my message out to more people by sitting at a dining room table and talking to 250 people tonight, or talking to over 300 people. So it's all about making your circumstances or your purpose work for you, rather than making the artificial comfort zone that we all tend to fall back on sometimes. So,
Well said.
Absolutely. I think to give some insight on this too, I know Kenneth personally. You made a point to point out his profile picture. He's actually an author himself. Like I said, he's from the Philippines, so his BB Monkey is his character he has him in the middle there. Is the baby monkey in the Philippines, and so he encourages people in the Philippines to read more. So he's an author. He's also a teacher. So really, you can tell he does that. He does live his purpose and his passion as much as possible. And just when it comes to teaching, use your creativity, find a way to really connect with the kids in your own way, and take the freedoms that you have as a teacher rather than just looking at the monotony of the program. Think creatively on how you can impact these kids' lives. And I'm sure you do that already. And so that's how you can be creative, and it's not so draining. Really enjoy your time with the kids, and also enjoy your time writing. And the way you do it with the monkey, there's so many ways to do it creatively. Just keep up the great work, keep connecting people through that. And I know we spent a good amount of time on that question. That was a great question, Kenneth. So I'm glad everybody had such great answers on that as well. So I'm glad we could really give a full in-depth answer. So I want to move on to the second one. We have a couple, I think these next couple questions are direct questions. But one of them, interestingly enough, was from my mom, and it's one of the questions that I was going to ask. So she asked Kevin, was there a particular educator who made a difference in your life? Directly to Kevin. So we'll start with you, Kevin.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and we always have to support moms, right? Whatever moms want, they get, right, all the time. Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate the question. When people ask me this question, I go back to my second to last year of elementary school. It was 1998. And I had just come back from London. Thames Valley Children's Hospital was where all of my procedures were done for my disability. And I had just been told by the doctor that there wasn't anything else medically that physicians could do for me. And I really had to sort of prioritize what that meant for me internally. And I had to go back to school. And I was really struggling at the time to find my purpose. So they could see that in my elementary school. And I credit the principal at the time. Her name was Carol Crawley. And she had called me into her office, and she had just met with my parents and the group of educators and counselors who were assigned to my file. And then she met with me, and I told her what she already knew, but it was a cathartic experience for me to get it out, to tell someone else with an outside perspective that the doctors had told my parents basically that I would be confined to a wheelchair and have to use a walker to get exercise and move around. And she looked at me and she said, the only limitations on your life are the artificial ones that you place on yourself. And then I felt, after hearing that comment, that it really skyrocketed both my confidence and my purpose in life. And I want to, one of the reasons I wanted to become a journalist was I wanted to give people the platform to share their own individual stories, regardless of the way they look or how they're perceived in life. So to answer your question more directly, it was my middle school principal, Carol Crawley, who really changed the trajectory of my life.
Wow. That's so powerful, Kevin. And some an interesting tidbit is that my mom is actually a principal as well, and she's the one who asked you that question.
Well, then she'll appreciate that answer, right?
But the impact that teachers and principals have in people's lives, and I'll let Brandon follow up with that answer. I just wanted to throw in that tidbit. But awesome answer, Kevin.
Yeah, I think, I've had several educators that have made a difference in my life. I think the greatest educator who made a difference for me, I thought it was a Kevin question, so now I'm thinking in my mind, who made a difference on me? I'd have to say it was my psychology teacher. And I say that his name was Mr. Hammond. And he was great because he was a real teacher, like real as in like he didn't put on like a facilitator mask when he went into the school that day. He truly wanted to be a cool teacher, yet a stern teacher. And he always asked me like how I was doing, right? I was an introvert in school. I am an introvert in general, right? I come alive when I need to, right? When the situation presents itself. But he was always just real with me, right? He always asked me how I was doing, if there's anything he can do for me. And I performed very well in his class, not because I was interested in psychology, which I was, but because I liked him as a teacher. But the person who made the most impact on me was my business teacher, because I don't believe that we're taught things in most schools. I know it's getting better in some areas, but I finally learned something in school in my senior year from my teacher, Mrs. Sisk, her name was. And I actually connected with her on LinkedIn like 6 months ago. And she taught law, she taught business, she taught real things like writing a check. She taught things such as like what you need to know when you go into the real world, things that I actually still think about and use to this day, when everything else I just kind of forgot. So it's those real courses that had to do with life that I remember most. And I'd say she was the one who really made the most difference on me in those later high school years.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's really amazing if we go back and think about the teachers that we have in our lives. And I worked a different presentation actually before I presented the one today. And what I was going to bring up was how many people really take a shot at our education system and how they devalue it, even though, you know, our system is built where we have teachers who are there for a purpose. They wouldn't be in that spot if they didn't care about the kids. So the fact that we have that liberty, and, you know, the people have truly, as you can see from all this discussion we're having now, they have made that such an impact on our lives. And just the amount of teachers I could go on and list about, and it's just incredible the impact that they have, just because you get to spend that time and they make that time valuable in a way that they want to give you that positive impact. And it's really an incredible thing. I'm going to answer this question on a little bit of an outside perspective and really take educator as a different sort of route and talk about a mentor for me. So, and to me, a mentor can be somebody that you don't even know. I call that a model mentor. So you can have mentors in your real life who, you know, if you're starting a new career, they coach you and things like that. But you can also have model mentors, and through podcasts, through, you know, social media nowadays, and really just the internet, you can really connect with people. You can connect with us. If you email us, that's us talking to you. You know, you really get to meet people one-on-one, and even through podcasts, you get to feel the personality of people. And somebody who really, I feel, is a model mentor for me was Jocko Willink. And he had such a strong impact on me to get started on my own personal development route. That it's just incredible, and it's brought me to where I am today, and it's brought me back into reading and writing. And if you don't know Jocko, he has his podcast, Jocko Podcast. He's an ex-Navy SEAL commander, and each podcast he goes through a different book from military history, and it really just opened my eyes to how we really owe it to people who are in the military, who have sacrificed their lives for us. And another thing I want to say is I would be remiss to not talk about what's going on in the world right now, and just take a minute and for us to really think about the people who are out there putting their lives on the line. And there's always been people, especially these past 15 years, that have been putting their lives on the line, and we get so distracted by everything else going on. It's just been in the background. It's just going on. People, you know, stuff happens every day, and we take our lives for granted. So if you're not doing it for yourself, you know, we should be doing these things for ourselves, but also think about the people who have sacrificed their lives for what you know, to have the freedoms that you have. And don't take advantage of it. Things could always be worse. And so that podcast and Jocko himself has really brought so much power to my life and has really influenced me to start this journey. So On to you, Terry.
Well said.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of like you. It's hard to zero in on just one, but I'll give a shout out to my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Jones, who was made school fun, but even in fourth grade challenged us with the big project that we did. I lived in Virginia then, and we had to do like this whole big project on the state of Virginia. It's one of my most proudest accomplishments from elementary school. And then my physics teacher in high school, Mr. Sarek, most of the people in my class really did not like Mr. Sarek, but I liked him because he would lock the door when the bell rang. You weren't allowed to chew gum. He had high standards and he held people to them. And I really respected that. I liked that. And then, much like you, I had a great mentor in my career who really, in many ways, sort of pulled back the curtain on what was really going on around me. And I think a lot of, around personal development really is like going deeper, not looking at things on the surface level, but really, Kevin, when you were talking earlier, I was thinking about, what's your why, right? Like, this is what's your why, or what's going on around us? What's really going on? What is the motivation of people around us? And I think when we start getting curious that way, or, Kevin, again, like being the journalist, the who, what, where, why, how, whatever, being curious, I think that's really important, and it helps us go deeper in our lives and with people around us when we can be more present and be more curious. So Mrs. Jones, Mr. Sarek, and Raj were my inspirations.
Yeah, the 5 W's is the first lesson they teach you in journalism school. Who, what, when, learn, why. It's like clockwork in my brain every time I do a podcast, right? So.
Yep.
Awesome answer. We'll move on to the next one. Before I move on to this next question, so we have one more from the crowd. Again, if people have more questions, we can try to address them, but I think one more will do. And we all prepared 2 questions, but I like I said, the one that my mom asked previously was one that I was going to ask. A mentor in your life that made that difference, that started you down this journey, was my question. That was a similar one. So I'm going to skip mine, and instead of doing 2 questions, we'll just do 1. If you guys are all okay with that, it is going to go past 8 because it's 8 now, but 8:15 or 8:20, 20 minutes past where we said it. Are we all okay with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You good?
Yep.
Okay. This next question was specific for Brandon, and Brandon's the only one who needs to.
Thanks, Jake's mom.
You saw this one? So when you hit that wall, what did you do to get back on track?
Yeah, thanks for asking the question, but I just want to start by saying I know you are, but you should be very proud of your son, Christine, because awesome guy, right? I came on my podcast. We became friends, invited me to this. He's reaching thousands of people. Just an inspiring dude. So another little shout out for you, Jake. When it came to me hitting that wall, I mean, I hit many walls, right? And it really kind of goes back to that last question of who was an educator that inspired you. And I wish I didn't stick with the educator route, and I wish I went to the mentor route, because then I would have actually had things to talk about. But to answer the question, my mentor really helped me to figure out even how to go around the wall. The wall at that point was not understanding that I could get better. And it's weird saying that, but I didn't really understand the concept of personal development. I didn't understand the concept of working on yourself. And he helped me to understand that concept. And the very first thing that I did was, like I mentioned in my presentation, I had to create a plan. I had to know what I wanted. And at that time, all I wanted was to become a leader in the company. I didn't really want to release weight. I didn't really want to eliminate my debts. Like, I knew I had to, but my main motivation was I wanted to move up in the company. That's like what I wanted. I was a company man. And he helped me to do that. And he kind of guided me along the path. So the way that I did it isn't the same way it's going to work for everyone else. For me, I started with my fitness. And once he started bringing me to the gym with him and I started to work out and feel better about myself and think different thoughts when I looked into the mirror, that started to impact every other area of my life. So my way of answering this would be pinpoint that one area of your life that's dragging all the other ones down. For me, it really was my fitness. For others, it might be their finances or their relationships. If they're living with someone, maybe intimately, who brings them down, right? Who sucks their life and their energy, right? You got to get around different people who charge you. So what's the one area of your life that's dragging all the other ones down? Focus on that, because, I mean, you know the quote, a rising tide raises all boats, right? If you raise the lowest one, it's going to boost all the other ones in the process. So my way of getting through that wall or over it or whatever was to focus on the one area that was weighing all the other ones down.
Well said, Brandon. Well said. It's definitely important to find that. And like I said during my presentation, that was all about reflecting, finding that one spot and really focusing on it. And there's so much power in that, and making, you start setting goals and make things that are non-negotiable. If you say you're going to start out with 4 miles a week, then make it a non-negotiable that you do that. And just being able to focus on one thing is definitely, she had a comment. She says, I am so very proud. So thank you for your comments, Brandon, and great answer to the question. And so we'll move right on to Terry's question.
Yeah, so my question is, what role has disappointment or failure played in your lives?
Kevin?
Oh, and let me sorry, I didn't read my whole question. In your lives and in your success.
Oh.
Wow, what a powerful question. Thanks for the question, Terry. I have to tell you that one of the jobs that I had recently, I was putting all of my energy into this job, and I never found time for myself in terms of finding my inner center, because I was always constantly trying to meet a level of expectation that I felt that I was just treading water. So when I hit the wall, I said to myself, I can either continue to do this job for the paycheck, or I can get out of it and sort of redefine myself. So I got out of the job because it was dragging down every aspect of my life, and it just never got better. And I could see the writing on the wall. They weren't happy with me. I wasn't happy with my performance. So I think when you have a situation where you're not fulfilled, you have to do sort of what I call a self-inventory and find out why it is you're not happy, and figure out how to reverse course. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that would be my answer.
Yep, it does answer my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was a great answer on the spot, by the way, because I had to think about that for a minute, and I came up with two situations, which I'll talk about quickly, because we could talk for a while. But failure is one of the only reasons why I'm even where I am right now. And I say that because I became a leader. There's 2 chapters in my life. One, I was a leader in a sales company. Second, I trained salespeople from all different sales companies nationwide. The first one, I wouldn't have been able to become a leader if I hadn't realized the necessary skills to be a leader in the first place. When I started in sales, I was 18 years old, and I was very cocky. I didn't know how to teach people. I didn't know how to train people. I always tried to force what I did onto other people. I was 18 doing very well, and there was people in their 30s and 40s who struggled immensely. And I was like, I want to help you, try this. And they're like, we don't want your advice. So when it became time to be a leader, I had to realize what didn't work about that approach. A lot of it. and I had to figure out what did work. And my mentor at the time really helped me to figure that out. So if I hadn't failed at leadership and really just being a great coworker and team member, then I wouldn't really know what went into being a great one. The second is when I began my business, and this will resonate with anyone out there who has a side hustle or business, whatever it may be. I'm obsessed with live events. I want to be part of events that have over 10,000, 20,000 people and be a speaker there or host them. So Jake, keep me in mind in 10 years once you're hosting those big events, brother, because I know it's only a matter of time. And I wanted to host big events like that. Yeah, right. And I paid over $2,000 on Facebook advertisements to fill an event in my local area. And you would think I had a lot of people. I had 4 people show up. Well, I had 8, but I had 4 who I didn't know. And then it was my mom, my dad, my sister, and my wife. All right. Those are and I acted like I didn't know them because I was like, I want people to think this room has more people in it. Right. And through that experience, it helped me realize, number one, I had no idea what I was doing. Number 2, people needed to know who I was before I was going to fill a room like that. And that's what led me to creating an ebook, which turned into an actual physical book, which led me down many different paths. So if I didn't spend that $2,000 in advertisements I was very, very depressed about that for a good couple days, right? I was like, oh my God, why did no one show up? If I didn't do that, I wouldn't know how to correctly run ads today. I wouldn't know how to market myself, all those things. So it's those failures that really help you accelerate your learning.
And can I just add one other quick story to Terry's question? Terry, I have to tell you, one of the reasons I started this podcast, I was about to go back to a job that I had as the regional ambassador for the Discoverability Network for the province here in Ontario, representing Windsor and Essex County. And then COVID hit the week before I was to sign my contract, right? And then I had to say to myself, how do I pivot? How do I stay relevant? So I started the podcast May 29th of last year, and we're already up to 305 episodes. So it's all about making your circumstances work for you. Because while that wasn't my fault as a failure, I had to find a way to pivot as well. So I always want to tell people that life is a constant game of connection, and you never know which audience of people you're reaching through your messages as well.
So true. I agree with that 100%.
Amazing, Kevin. Yeah, that's just an awesome answer for that. And no, there's so much we can learn from that. I'm sure so many people can connect with what happened to them during COVID and how that really affected their lives. And, being able to take that free time and really make it into something that you can feel success and you can feel achievement in other ways. And so that brings me kind of to my answer is it's really all, it's so much mindset. And when it comes to failure, this is another thing that Terry and I talked about the other day was that, people will come to her for executive coach advice, and yet they're dreaming of that success and think if they just set up a website, they'll be good to go. And you need to, pull the reins a little bit and say, hey, it's a long road to get there. So be calm, relax, enjoy the process. It is, like I said, it's all about your mindset going into something. And the feeling of achievement that you get from doing 300 podcasts or from writing a book and being a bestseller and just the feedback that you get from people, it means so much more than the money and the sales and all that. It means so much more. And it's so that's what's important. And that's something I had to learn the hard way. I've tried other things through the internet, developing websites, developing programs that failed. And it's because I didn't have the passion and the purpose behind it that I needed. I was in it for what I thought success was when, I really just needed to look deep, go back to my reading and writing and educating myself and bettering myself. And this is actually a Dr. Phil quote that you need to take care of yourself first before you can take care of others. So if you have a great idea or you want to do something, make sure you're developing yourself. And rather than looking at success at what you think it is, think of it as, achievements rather than the money or, things on the side that you dream of that can happen in a year, because chances are it'll happen in 10 or 15 if you stick to it, if you have that passion, you have that purpose, you have that drive. And even if not, it's like I said, no time or money is wasted if it's on things that are developing yourself and bettering your professional development or your personal development. So that's my answer for that. I think everybody finished out that. Kevin, do you want to bring up your one question? Oh, hold on, Kevin, you're muted. I don't know how that happened. There we go.
Because I muted myself, that's why.
Hey, it wasn't me this time.
No, it was all me. So my one question has to do with inclusion. When I was the regional ambassador of the Discoverability Network here in Windsor, we got a chance to give 70 people with disabilities either a job or an internship placement during my stewardship of the network. So my question is to all of you, and I'm very curious to Terry's answer, because I know in some way how Brandon's going to answer this, but I want to know from all of us, what intrinsic value do you think infusing more people into the workforce who have a disability could bring to a workforce in today's society?
He knows what I'm going to answer because he asked me the same question on his show, and I will answer it the same way. So you're very wise, Kevin. And I will say that just like what you said earlier, right? You use what you have, you use your disability, you use your, and that's exactly what it is, a disability, but really it's just a different ability, right? Rather than it's different. So what about you is unique and different that somebody who doesn't have this disability doesn't have, right? Like, what is it about you that's unique that you can bring to the workforce? And really, the one thing I'd say, and listen, I can't really because I don't have a disability, right? But what I do know is I've worked with a lot of different leaders who wanted to become leaders, and it's the same advice. It is, what is your unique selling proposition? And people have said, well, what do you mean? That's like a product, but you are a product. The way that you show up, what is unique about you? Something about me is I've always loved to influence people and to teach people. So my unique selling proposition is I'm really good at influencing people to make a specific decision as long as I believe in that decision, right? So what is it about you that makes you unique? Are you a great problem solver? Are you great at relationships? Like, my wife is the most incredible person in the world when it comes to relationships. Like, she is better at relationships than I've ever seen anyone in the history of anyone. Like, she remembers everyone's birthday, remembers all my family's birthdays. I forget their birthdays. She knows them all. She just literally went to a restaurant to get a gift card for my brother's birthday because I didn't get him a gift, right? It's just, she is the greatest at relationships. So anything that has to do with cultivating and building relationships, do that. So this disability of yours, what is it? How can it bring value to an organization, right? Because while it might be easy to say, well, they should hire me because, well, really, you have to bring something to the table. What is it that you're bringing to the table that can provide value? The sooner you know what that is, the more likely you're going to be exactly where you want to be, in the job you want to be, in the industry you want to be in.
And just for the record, Brandon, my birthday is January 15th, okay?
I'll let my wife know. I already forgot.
Oh, my goodness. Great answer, Brandon. Great answer. I think, there's so much that needs to be talked about. That it's such a great, with your theme of let's have this conversation, talking about inclusion in the workplace needs to be brought up no matter where you are. It's something that so many companies, just I would say 99% of companies, are short-sighted of where they can include different individuals in that space. And and I want to use you as a fantastic example. You can tell you have an amazing mind. You're so capable with what you do with the podcast and everything. It's it's really, there's so many amazing traits that you have that can be brought to the table if companies, would acknowledge that and bring that out of people. And if they, open their minds to where spots could be where you can fit, I think it's just such an important conversation that needs to be had. So I really, really love this question. And I think, there's so many areas if they just opened up their mind to include more people, and it just opened their mind to, I think Kyle Porter, who was in your presentation, I think he really said it best, where they have, or people with disabilities have a great way to connect with people because they deal with difficulties their whole life, and they need to overcome that and push through that. And it's just what can be taken from that. It's what we were talking about, failure and coming back from that, and your story about what your doctor said and how you took that and what you were able to do with that. And it's just, there's so much potential there if companies would just look, and how it improves not only the person but the company. It's definitely something that needs to be talked about more.
Yeah, and just before Terry gives her answer, I'll give a little bit of context just so that the audience has it. There are 1.8 million people who have a disability in Ontario, and the Council of Policy Initiatives says that 400,000 working age adults who have a disability are unemployed but willing to work. So it's all about creating bridges of inclusion, right? So I just wanted to bring those statistics to the table. And Terry, the floor is yours to answer my question.
Yeah, well, I'm going to flip the table a little bit, because I think that what we've been talking about is from the employee standpoint and what they're bringing. But I want to talk about what companies can get out of hiring people who are differently abled. I think that this whole topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that many companies are taking very seriously. But to me, it's just smart business sense to do this, because companies sell to all different kinds of people. And one of the things that I think has been missing for years, and I think that this is where the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are helping companies, is that in the past, they were really only listening to certain people in their organizations about where the opportunities were, or what their opinions were about, what kind of products to make, or where to market, or what kind of messages to put out. And the more that organizations tap into all of the wisdom that is within their organization, and the more that the organization reflects the marketplace that they're selling to, which, Kevin, to your point, 1.8 million people just in Ontario, the more effective they're going to be, the more successful they're going to be as businesses, because they're going to be wiser. They're going to see opportunities that some of their competitors aren't going to see if they are not more inclusive in the people that they hire.
And in a lot of cases, they make more money if they listen to people with disabilities.
Absolutely. It just makes sense, because they're smarter, because they are tapping into the collective wisdom of many different types of people that have different perspectives and different experiences.
Well said, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's such an important topic, and it's important to really think about, where we can include people, how we can include people, and in every company. For my company that I'm in, for instance, there's so many programs that we're given. Like, we have a leadership program inside that's gauged toward engineering, architecture, what we do for work. But there's so many spaces we're also developing a podcast, and the fact that those with disabilities are just not thought about as much. And I'm not going to say that my company, but I think overall in general that it's really a great thing that could be implemented across the board, is that it just needs to be discussed more and talked about. If they want to develop a podcast or things like that, where these people can be included. There's so many opportunities for that. So thank you, Kevin. Great question. And
That
I
was a
hope you
great
enjoyed our
question.
answers.
Yeah, I had to make sure I wasn't muted. Absolutely. And thank you for a robust discussion on an important topic.
Absolutely. Brandon, last question, I think.
Cool. Yeah. I like to selfishly ask this question to hear about maybe something that I can include in my routine. But I'm very curious, as highly successful people, what is the one thing that you have in your routine that is for your own self-care, for your own well-being, that is a non-negotiable for you? Something that no matter what, every single day you'll do this thing because it either primes you for the day or it helps you during your day. What is this thing that it's just part of your everyday routine that really amps you up and helps you perform at your peak?
Yeah. Wow. It's tough. I mean, there's so many things that I implement, and it's I think the one thing, and it varies. I think having a morning routine is so crucial, just to take that time to yourself. You're not just waking up, getting in the car, and going to work, and just you want to start the day off in a positive way, any way that you can. And this changes depending on my goals for health and fitness. Sometimes it'll be a run in the morning. Sometimes it'll be lifting in the morning. Some things I always do. I always drink a tall glass of water first thing in the morning, just to get things flowing. And, like, I just set aside time for myself. I also like to read out of a book. I have The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, which is a quote for each day. It has 365 days of the year as a quote, a passage to follow. So it's a little morning reflection. So I can really get to think. Another thing I do, and this was all part of my morning routine that I used to do, live stream as well. I'd live stream it. So I'd pull a quote from somewhere, and I'd also, not only discuss the quote and the background behind that, but I'd also talk about something that I'm grateful for that day, and encourage people to do the same thing. I think just having a morning routine, no matter what that is, setting that time for yourself, even if it's just reflection, thinking about where you're at, what you can improve on that day to be that little bit better, just like Brandon was saying. Think of that one thing and make it a non-negotiable, and work on that, even if it's the same thing, because you have a big goal in health and fitness, or you have a big goal with your relationships, and you just want to reach out to more people who you haven't talked to in a long time. Make it a point, and by making yourself better every day, by setting that time for yourself in that morning routine, it's crucial, I think, for anybody.
Woof, you're on fire. Love that. Well said, brother.
Woot, woot.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to say I have non-negotiables, and I actually don't. I think that one of the things that is important to me, and I know about myself, is that I like variety. I go through seasons, and I do try to, drink water in the morning when I get up, and eat a healthy breakfast. I've gone through seasons where I would get up and meditate and journal, and my days went well. And I've kind of gotten to a point where I know myself, and I know that sometimes I just have to circle back, and that I forgive myself when it's not, that's why I say it's not, I don't have any non-negotiables, because to me, I've had trouble in the past of being too judgmental of myself. And so I've really tried to be kinder to myself when I don't live up to my ultra high expectations. And if I fall off the horse, I just get back on, or I decide that wasn't working for me, so I'm going to get up and walk in the morning. And I've done all of these things. But being creative, I mean, this is what I do during the day, being creative, connecting with people, giving myself time to think. These are all things that are important to me, but I tend to not just, I've read the Morning Miracle, about creating a routine. I haven't done that, but I'm doing okay. And I keep trying. So I think that's probably the thing that I do is that if I don't do something that I intend to do, I keep trying to incorporate it, and that's okay. And I forgive myself.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, that's I just want to, because we're kind of going back and forth on if you need non-negotiables or if you don't. And I think it's
Yeah,
important.
exactly.
Once you get to that point where you get to learn yourself more, that's the beautiful
Right.
thing when you start heading down the road of, you said you started to meditate, you started to journal, and you start to learn more
And I still
about yourself.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still do, and it's like if I miss a day or if I miss a couple weeks, I'll think, okay, I'm going to get back to that.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to design my life so it works for me. And
Right.
being happy and loving myself is probably the most important things.
Yeah. You don't
True.
want to make it monotonous and do the same thing day
Yeah.
in, day out, and you
Yeah.
need to have variety. So look at when you fall off the wagon, look at it that way. Okay, I took 2-3 days off, but I'm going to jump right back
Right.
on when
Yeah,
I'm comfortable
exactly.
too. And as long as you're happy
Yep.
and you know what your goals are and you're still making progress, even though it's at your own pace, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
So,
Right. Probably most of the time with me, it's that I actually need to do less.
yeah.
Got too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
I hear you.
So I guess that leaves me.
Yeah, it is you, Kevin.
I know a couple of things. There's a sign in my office that says that we're all given a platform to make a difference, and it's incumbent upon all of us to decide which direction we want to go. And I also have a saying that I tell myself every day that everyone's depiction of success is different and that we're all on a different timetable of expectations that we set for ourselves, because if we're not willing to meet our own expectations, the first person that we have to make happy in our lives are ourselves, right? Because if we don't do that, we can't be of service to other people. So I always tell myself that every depiction of my own success is different every day. I mean, we can all have a long-term or extended goals, but one thing that I've tried to be recently is more perspective, because one of the problems that I have, I don't want to call them a problem, but one of the issues that I have is I say yes to everything, right? So I have to learn to prioritize myself. And one thing that I've done recently is I've turned off my computer and I give myself 10 minutes a day to sort of check in with myself and tell myself that every time an email comes into my inbox, it doesn't have to be answered immediately, right? One of the reasons I did this was one of my former bosses said, "You email me at like 8:00 at night and I want to shut myself off." So one of the things that I've done is sort of put myself in a challenge to stop answering formal emails after 5:00, and it really has helped me sort of find my inner center. But it also reminds me that every depiction of success is different, and everyone has a different timetable, and the emails will be there in the morning when I wake up, because they don't get answered until I answer them anyway, right? So, yeah, so it's
Right.
all about finding my own depiction of success and redefining my own level of expectations.
Well said.
Well said.
Yep. And no, I don't want to stop there, Brandon. I want you to give your answer as well.
Okay. It goes along with Terry's in a way. I do have one non-negotiable, and I guess I can't call it that because sometimes I do negotiate once every now and then. So I guess we're on the same page, Terry. You win. I would say that my routine differs based on what my focus is, but it's generally always the same thing. It's exactly what you said, Jake, the morning routine. I give myself 2 hours every morning before I have to do anything. Okay. And that doesn't even include like my movement for the day, like walking or running or whatever I'm doing. I give myself the first 30 minutes. Usually it's like the first 20 minutes. I'll get up, I'll get my water, I'll sit down, and I'll sit there quietly just thinking. And it's usually kind of weird. I just sit there staring at the wall, like just thinking to myself. It's my own form of just becoming awake, right? Because when you first rise, especially very early in the morning, you've got that grogginess, that haziness, but really that's like your subconscious at its most powerful.
True.
Yeah, and I just sit there and think. And my one non-negotiable that I sometimes negotiate with, but not often, is my phone. I won't look at technology, not even just my phone. I won't go on my laptop. I won't go on my phone until I've been up for at least 30 minutes. And it's exactly what you said, Kevin. Nothing can't wait. Everything can wait. Emails that have been sitting there for 3 days, they can wait. They're important, but they're not urgent, right? And I think that's a very important distinction. And as soon as I look at my phone, I then find myself, okay, I check my Facebook. Okay, now I'll look at my Instagram. Now I'll look at my LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Now I'll check my email. It just becomes an immediate time sink, but it automatically is shooting up my brain with dopamine that I didn't really deserve because I didn't do anything to earn it. So for me, it's not looking at my phone. And it's recently, since 75 Hard, I've read every single morning. I'll read 10 pages of a book every morning, and it takes 40 minutes. I'm not the fastest reader, but it's one of the most valuable habits that I've acquired is reading just 10 pages a day. Right now I'm reading Launch by Jeff Walker. And I've read so many incredible books, but from Jocko, from Tony Robbins, or from Terry McDougall. I've read great books from. And I mean, there's so many amazing books. You have to choose like which one makes the most sense for me. But not looking at my phone and reading and really just taking that time for myself has made a profound difference in my life.
Finding a moral center is important. And one thing I always do too, I start every morning with, at least I try to anyway, by listening to the song High Hopes by Panic of the Disco. It just puts me in the right mindset to start a day of success.
Yeah, we all have our little things. I think something that's important to touch on that we all talked about in one way or another is getting away from distractions. And in our today's world, it's so easy to get bogged down in distractions, and to take that time to yourself. And actually that's where good ideas come from. That's and that's the title of one of the books that I mentioned, and that was a basis for a part of my presentation as well, is taking that time to reflect. So you're thinking to yourself, just that time that you have for deep thought. And actually this conference itself was something I thought of while on a walk. A lot of times when I go for a walk or I go for a run, I purposefully leave my phone, leave my headphones, because I don't want that distraction. I have something I'm working on, or I want to think about things and how I can develop things. And times you'll learn a lot of innovative leaders. They'll say, it's in the shower, or it's during my meditation in the morning, or it's during my daily walk with my dogs. It's that time alone by yourself that you really get to have these incredible thoughts. So I just want to jump back to a note that I said in my presentation as well, is if you reflect enough, if you have enough deep thought, you can have ideas. If you have enough passion and purpose behind those ideas, you can build something that you're really proud of. And it doesn't matter what that is. And that's where you find success. It's not in money or anything like that. It's finding it in yourself by finding balance through everything that we talked about in this conference today. Just awesome. I couldn't ask for a better team. One thing I want to apologize for the technical difficulties, but I hope everybody who jumped in here got value from these presentations and saw that we're really all just trying to give value to you. So if any one of us, or if all four of us connected with you, reach out to us, talk to us, and we're more than willing to talk back and answer any questions that you have. The greatest thing that we're looking for is just connecting with more people. So that's really what this is all about. Go find us on LinkedIn, go find us on Facebook, go follow or subscribe to our YouTube channels, whatever you find best. And don't be afraid to reach out to us. You know, our emails are all on our websites. If you want to reach out to us, we all have our podcasts, we all have our books, whatever form of media that you enjoy, go search it out. And I really hope that you enjoyed all of these presentations and our roundtable discussion. I, for one, really think that this roundtable discussion was the most powerful thing that really, I think it's important to have those presentations to start, to really, so everybody gets to know a little bit about everybody. And now we can bring things full circle and really delve into meaningful questions and have meaningful discussion that bring up new ideas. And we're not just jabbering on. These are things that we talk about because we live this passion in our lives. And like I said, I hope you all can see that we live with passion and purpose in what we're doing, and we just want to help as many people as possible. So I appreciate everybody for watching. Kevin, did you have another point?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to end by saying, Jake, I wanted to bring something up that I recently heard Brandon say, and it's something having to do with, if you don't have the energy to attack the day, like from a personal perspective, then your level of being successful won't be at its peak level. So I wanted to end by saying, make sure you take care of yourself, energy and mentally, because if you don't have the energy to be personally invested into something, then your level of execution on the goal or the message that you want to deliver won't be the same. So thanks for reminding me of that message, Brandon. I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah.
Well said.
Absolutely. Does anybody else?
Jake, thanks. Jake, thank you so much for all the work that you put in. And, you know, this being your brainchild, I am honored to have been here with you and with Brandon and Kevin. You guys are also great. So thanks so much for giving us this platform.
Yeah, thanks, Jake, for the platform and the opportunity. And Terry, I look forward to seeing you next week on my podcast. Absolutely.
Yes. Yep.
I'll be watching as well. Yeah, it's amazing having all you guys here, Terry, Kevin, Brandon. The fact that I was just able to reach out to you and you're willing to come on, even though we may know each other through a podcast, or, Terry, I actually listened to one of her podcasts and decided I really connected with her just because, everything we have relates so much between what Brandon and Kevin and I say. I just, there's really no better fourth piece to the puzzle. So thank you for, trusting in me to be on this show and for making a great presentation. And it's amazing how this turned out, and it's awesome to have this time to get to talk to you guys. And I couldn't have asked for a better team. So
right back at you, brother. Yeah, great working with all of you.
Yep.
Bye,
guys.
One very last note, I just want to mention all the people that stopped in. My mom, Peter Holhan, and Kenneth Meniato, Judy Robinette, and I think that's everybody I see in comments. I'm not able to see links, but thank you all so much. This is really about you, so I hope you can take this value and help your professional and personal lives. So we're signing off. Thank you, everybody. And
bye, everybody.
Have a wonderful night.